Do you want to tell us a little bit about the studio?
Sure.
Yeah, give us the rundown.
Damien Gerard Studios,
Yeah.
it's always been a company name. People sort of ring me up and go, oh, is that Damien? And I usually know they're trying to sell me something. But it was a company name from two brothers that actually set up the very original first Damien Gerards in Ultimo in Sydney in '82, which was a rehearsal place. And all the big acts of the time, from In Excess and Barnsey down through
Grinspoon, right?
Grinspoon.
Silverchair.
Yeah. Pretty much everyone.
Yeah.
Because in those
Incredible.
days, it was rehearsal studios in Sydney were pretty scarce.
Yeah.
There's a lot more now. So there was us and another place down the road. That seemed to be the area at the time. Now it's all sort of moved over to Marrickville and out west, but that just didn't exist. So I kind of joined the team with another guy from Tasmania. We moved up in '85, and the brothers that had set it up, they wanted to get out. So it was this gradual changeover to us being the owners, bought them out. And I, because of what I'd said earlier about being into producing and how the hell did they make these incredible records I'm in love with, I finally got to, have this massive, playground.
Yeah.
And taught myself engineering from that. I've had enough knowledge from live to then apply that to tape recording in the studio. And I had a whole vision of taking it from a demo/rehearsal studio to a proper full recording studio with no rehearsals. Yeah. And we achieved that in that building by about 1992, 93.
Wow.
And then by the time we got kicked out of there with a typical demolition clause on those big old beautiful concrete buildings in Sydney, warehouse buildings, that's a Meriton apartment now. So we got kicked out of there in '99. Yeah. And we'd had, and just up until then we had, Studio A, Studio B, and then Charing Cross Studios had moved in as well. So that was the mixing room with a massive big old Neve. Yeah. Beautiful old outboard, like these sort of tube things everywhere.
Yes, gorgeous.
So then Festival Studios saved our lives for a couple of years because we just had nowhere to go, and they allowed us to move in there because they saw it as a really important studio for developing artists at the time. So we camped in there for a couple of years. Then Murdoch sold that building, and we finally found a spot in Balmain that had been built by a legendary Sydney engineer called Phil Punch, who's been around forever and worked with people like Rene Gayer and the Wiggles, for example.
Amazing.
But hundreds of other things. So he'd moved out to a bigger place. This space he'd built, which was acoustically fantastic and already wired partly. Yeah. So we rolled all the gear in and did a session the next day, literally.
Amazing.
And we were there for 15, 16 years.
Wow.
Then another great old concrete building down in Balmain, same thing happened. Yeah. The owner died and these children were like, oh, great, we can make some money. Yeah. And so, and then by this stage it was, this is only 2 years ago now, and I was kind of ready to think, oh, well, that's enough of, I'll look around, but nothing might happen, who knows? And just through a chance connection through one of our younger engineers, so you should talk to this guy up on the Central Coast. Jason, he's already, he owns a building that used to be a television studio, so it's already soundproofed.
Yeah,
and
wow.
He's a mic collector.
Yeah.
And I was talking to some other people in Sydney, but I literally walked in the door here. It's 20 minutes from where I live. Saw the space, met Jason, and just went,
yeah, it's perfect.
This is home.
It's 20 minutes from where you live.
No,
so
I've been living in Yamina since
so
2005.
You're a coastie. So it's
time.
perfect.
As soon as our son was school age, we were like, right,
wow.
out of Sydney, up the coast.
She just brought work to you. That's amazing.
And it was like Steiner School, grammar school for him.
That must have been such a mission moving everything here.
Oh, yeah, it was...
Because the amount of gear you have
we
is
did it
just...
over the July school holidays 2019. I remember it very well because we thought school holidays great, less traffic, and we did 4 loads in a 3-ton truck.
Wow.
So 12 tons of gear.
It's a lot. Yeah.
And it's pretty much chockers because things like the big baffles and everything, they're big and they're quite heavy. So they're more cumbersome than the equipment itself.
Yeah, of course. Do you want to give us a little rundown about the gear? What makes you stand out from other studios, or just some?
Sure. So certainly now that we've really fitted out in here, there's a number of things right where we're sitting here. This is actually a brand new SSL Origin console. Okay.
Solid state, yeah.
Solid state, but it's the only one in Australia.
Yeah, wow.
And what SSL, they're a legendary console from the 80s that, so many hits from that time were mixed on. But what they did, they'd gone all very digital as everything, and then they saw this demand for back to analog. Yeah. So they stripped out some of the old-fashioned sort of automation. You know, you used to see videos of faders flying around on consoles.
Yep.
Well, nowadays that's all done with Pro Tools in the
Ah,
computer.
yes, yes, of course.
So by getting rid of some of those features, they brought the price point down. But what they did was incorporate all the classic EQ equalizers that everyone would have used back in the day.
Yeah.
And this bus compressor thing, which is a really famous. Now they're available just by themselves for like a lot of money, the actual original ones. So they put it all together in this package, and we thought about getting a vintage console, an old Neve or an old one of these, and we realised that one, you've got to run your aircon all the time, and something is always wrong. There's always like one channel that doesn't work, or one switch that's a bit dirty or scratchy because it's analog.
Of course.
And we thought, well, how great would it be to have something brand new with a warranty?
Yeah, of course.
It's kind of built to spec, and there's nothing wrong with it. And if something does go wrong, it gets fixed.
Exactly.
And it was it's just been an absolute dream.
Yeah.
And SSL were just amazing to deal with. We're on the
incredible.
UK website that they build the things by hand.
Oh, wow. And it's the only one in Australia?
Only one in Australia. There's one other one in LA. I think there's only about 6 being made so far.
Wow. That's
it
incredible.
Debuted at NAMM in 2018.
Yeah.
So we knew about it from that.
That's incredible.
So that's one of the really key features.
Yep.
It's like 64 inputs. So we can do, like if we're doing, say, a big live stream thing, we had a 12-piece band, 12-piece lineup for Little Quirks one in there, because they added extra musicians for the fans.
Yeah.
And this just coped with that, no brainer. Then the other key thing is this vintage kind of gear, like these old tube equalisers and compressors. They're worth like $12,000 each, something like that. They're like antiques.
Yeah.
And then you can't see on the cameras, but over the back here there's Neve preamps, which couples the two famous desk brands, the SSL for mixing and the Neve for tracking. So we've kind of got the best of both worlds by having a whole bunch of separate Neve preamps that are worth like 20 grand each. They're like the golden egg 1073 preamp that everybody's kind of famous vocals recorded through back in the day. Wow. And then of course the microphones are the source of everything. You can't even make a digital recording without a good microphone. So there's a whole bunch of the famous Neumann microphones.
Of course, heard of them.
And all the AKGs, all the ones you typically would see in those videos of people recording right from the 60s onwards. Yeah. We've got a whole bunch of those. So there's a very expensive locked up mic cupboard.
Of course, but it's nice to have all that on hand.
Yeah, and then of course the other advantage is just all the knowledge with our engineers that have been doing it, all their lives, the same as me, and just seen anything and everything happen in a studio. Yeah. So someone can come in here and be pretty assured that they're going to walk out of there with.
And you have producers here as well. Yeah, of course,
that's
the whole thing.
That's right. There's a lot of backline here as well. Like there's an old Ringo Ludwig drum kit from 1962. Yeah. There's some amps that are like what the Beatles would have used, 64 Vox and a Bassman. Then there's some more modern stuff like the Marshall amplifiers.
That's incredible.
Wurlitzer keyboards. Yeah.
Wow.
And bunches of different versions, different guitars, like there's Fenders and Gibsons, classic things.
Yeah, of course.
Jason, being a collector's got these ESP guitars.
Yes, you were mentioning that as well. Before the court case.
Before the Gibson court case, Gibson sued them for copying them. Yeah. But they're actually really well-made instruments, and these particular ones are very sought after, so he's avidly collecting them.
Yeah, that's incredible.